The seasonal position was never there.
Hello.
Okay. No, I mean, it's going to be great. Item A on the agenda.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well,
We have a question. We always want to say the crowd.
that's right. Yep, I agree.
I would like to call this meeting to order. I would like to recognize that the entire council is present, as is the city administrator, Mr. Sutherland, and the city clerk, Ms. Hughes. If you would all please join the council in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for being here. It's always good to have something close to a full house without having it be a gun control measure. And so
Inappropriate.
let me just start off by a brief announcement. Progress continues in finding a suitable replacement for Mr. Sutherland. As the council knows, Municipal Resources Incorporated is involved in the search. They have begun their process. They intend to contact each councilor to learn their individual points of view in the skills of the next city administrator. The firm has received the public contact information for the individual councilors. The next thing is, I'd like to call Gary Stevens, Randy Menard, and Ryan, and Coach Ryan. So. And so, Coach, Coach, I'll remember that. Thank you very much. So this is the microphone you'll be using.
All right.
And so I would like to have you, first of all, I'd like to have the council step forward from the dais so that we can get the individual players recognized by councilors as they arrive. And so as that occurs, I'd like to have you call each of the players in turn. I presume they already have received their T-shirts.
They have, and thank you very much.
All right,
That's
thank you. So please.
All right, so the two other coaches with me are Mike Hersey
Oh, Mike Hersey
and Justin Norman.
and Justin Norman, please come forward. Oh, along with the trophy. All right. That's a pretty heavy load.
Yeah, careful. Oh, and another trophy.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We got a few tag-alongs.
Yeah.
All right, we have some extra assistance.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, sir.
We have three captains here. Captain Eli Arsenal,
Captain Arsenal.
Captain CJ Lebrecht, and Captain Ian Patry.
Thank you. Good job.
And then
Excellent job, Captain.
Senior Andrew Dolan.
Oh, we have some seniors. Okay. Good job, Captain.
Congrats, Captain.
And then Juniors Owen Boysenalt.
Thank you very much. Good job. Congratulations, seniors.
Cam Cody.
So are these two guys seniors?
These are juniors.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, now seniors. Kyle Hobson.
All right, take advantage of your last year at TA. Good job.
Tyler Swan. Sawyer Worthing.
Congratulations. Congrats.
And then sophomores, Michael Jordan,
Good job. Congrats.
Caleb Pelletier,
Good job. Thank you. Congrats.
and Riley Tebow.
Good job. Congrats.
And then freshman Preston Briggs,
Yep. I'm sorry, who?
freshman,
Yeah.
and Nathan Lilly.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And this is the team?
Yeah, we have a few that were working tonight, but
Oh, yeah, right. That happens.
it does.
So for a photo opportunity, I'd like to have the players come in and stand in where the council is standing and actually ask the council to come closer together. So
And
that,
then we'll go on the outside.
yeah, we can, or back, well, maybe we need to go on the outside because of these tall guys here. So if you can come down a little bit more this way. And how does that look in? Okay, good. Coach Mercy? Yeah. Did I get you to stand on next to the other child? All right, I'm right here, everybody.
Okay. Public comment.
So thank you very much. I want to, oh, and you recruited somebody to help. Yes. The next item on the agenda is public comments. And at first, I have Mr. Roach and Mr. Plavin. David and Kevin. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Kevin Roach, 18 Vines Road.
David Plavin, 2 Surf Street.
Thank you very much, sir.
David and I are here to formally announce the relaunch of the community action group called SOS Save Our Shores, renamed SOS Saco Bay. I've been elected the new group's president, and David is our new vice president. This group is one of the 3 avenues of action to initiate Army Corps remediation for the shoreline erosion directly caused by the ill-constructed jetty. One avenue is legal action initiated by beachfront residents. We do not speak directly for this action, other to say that progress has been made with support and guidance to the successful settlement that happened down at Cocoa Beach, Florida, and their legal team. Another avenue is you, Mayor, government support, through your council-approved work of the mayor's outreach to other communities to garner support from the state of Maine to pressure the federal government for action with our neighboring communities. But first and foremost, at SOS, we implore you all for action, as this is, for every counselor, this is all of our beach, and we are wasting our local taxpayer money band-aiding a problem caused by the federal government. And not only have we lost taxable valuation to the water, to houses going in the drink, current market values on the shoreline remain suppressed, let alone other economic impact. This is not a sea level problem. This is not Mother Nature being Mother Nature. But don't take my word for it that it's not just a Section 111 project where $26.9 million was already allocated. The Army Corps officials themselves on the Saco River dredge told city officials and residents this past winter that the sand dump onto Camp Ellis will be lucky to last a year. Lucky. We will have then no better video evidence of the Corps' incompetency of their jetty by seeing the new beach that's behind Hewitt's now gone by next year. There's your video evidence. This year is an election year. We ask that you bring some sort of vote or on-the-record proclamation that this council and the mayor have had enough of at least this loss of tax revenue and will once and for all stand for our most precious and valuable resource, our beach. No retreat, no surrender. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My concern or my purpose for being here is that is to unite, make sure that the council is united behind these efforts, especially the mayor's most recent effort, because I find it somewhat disappointing that a city with the natural resources as amazing as one that we have, we should be doing everything we can to protect it, to nurture it, to realize its economic viability. And instead, it seems we've just been fighting about it. And this is not a Camp Ellis problem or a Ferry Beach problem or a Bayview problem or a Kinney Shores problem. It's a Saco problem. And it's not just about the tax revenue that's been lost. It's about the tax revenue that we stand to lose if nothing gets done here. So it's important that we all stand behind it. And I find that, you know, if you, for example, if you go to Hannaford in the middle of the summer, you'll see 4 or 5 people at a deli counter. 90% of the registers open. Go in the winter, it's 2 people and 3 registers, and it's not just by chance. These are summer jobs created for all of Saco's youth by summer residents, renters, tourists. We're all a big part of the city, and we don't want to lose the beach, because if you lose the beach, we'll lose all that economic activity. So we want to rehabilitate the beach, get more jobs, collect more taxes, get growth. So we ask that you work with us to put an end to between the divisions between shoreline residents and the rest of Saco, to work as one city, one council, and I would strongly urge that all of you get behind whatever initiatives that come forth. As you'll see, I think there'll be a few of them in the coming months. Thank you.
Yep. So let me just say what Steve Corvos understands, and that is it's a Saco Bay problem. We really have to have the entire bay behind us to be able to get it done right, because that erosion doesn't stop when it hits Kinney Shores. It's now eroding at Ocean Park, and we need to have concerted action of all 4 municipalities to be able to get that recognition of the degree of damage, because 26.9 is nothing compared to the amount of money that needs to be spent for the most effective solution. And that's the serious breakwaters having to be built out toward the islands.
I think we're all aware of your plan and to include the entire bay. I think tonight we're really just addressing the city. But yeah, we're totally behind the idea that this is not just a Saco problem, that the entire bay is in jeopardy because of what's happening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I appreciate that. Next up is Mr. Jackson Chet. Oh, wrong sign-up sheet. Okay, good. Okay. Then next up is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for acceptance of the consent agenda? So I have a motion by Councilor Gay and seconded by Councilor Minthorn. Does any councilor wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? Looking to my right, looking to my left, I see the entire consent agenda is now on the floor. Councilor Archer. Aye. Councilor Gay.
Yes.
Councilor Doyle.
Yes.
Councilor Copeland.
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn.
Yes.
And Councilor Smart.
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
The consent agenda passes 7-0. The first item on the agenda is a motion to accept the city administrator's appointment for to fill the open position of chief of police. And that is with with Deputy Chief Clement. Counselor, no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a consent agenda here. Counselor
Roger
Gay. Counselor Gay, do you have a motion?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jack Clemens joined the Saco Police Department in 2017 as a deputy chief, taking over as an interim chief in March 2019. An interview committee that consisted of a city councilor, city staff, community leaders, and a representative from the police unions interviewed other capable candidates to find a new chief, but entirely Jack Clemens was the best fit for the position. Be it ordered that the City Council confirm the City Administrator's appointment of Jack Clemens as Police Chief for the City of Saco, effective August 12, 2019. I move to approve the order.
Second.
So I have a motion by Counselor Gay, seconded by Counselor Archer. Are there any comments to my right? Comments to my left? Oh, excuse me, Counselor Archer.
I was just going to
Yes.
say, so just...
Would you like to speak to your second?
Definitely for it. I got to meet with the chief 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. Told me his plan, things that he wanted to do, things he's been working on since March of this year. Wholeheartedly yes from me.
Thank you very much. Any others? Counselor Copeland.
I would just like to say how lucky we are to have a wonderful police department, and now under the very capable direction of Chief Clement.
Thank you very much. So, Counselor Archer.
Aye.
Counselor Gay.
Yes.
And Counselor Doyle.
Yes.
Counselor Copeland.
Yes.
Counselor Minthorn.
Yes.
And Counselor Smart.
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston.
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Congratulations. Have it around.
Thank you. And also, thank you for being so kind as to attend Mr. Caney's service. It's good to have a lot of important people there, and you were among the most important, so we appreciate that. The next item on the agenda is a motion to renew an application for special entertainment permit for the Townhouse Pub. Counselor Johnston, do you have a motion?
Townhouse Management, Inc., doing business as a townhouse pub, has applied for renewal of their special entertainment permit. The permit would be concurrent with the establishment's liquor license. The applicant has paid all applicable permit fees, and the clerk has properly advertised the public hearing in accordance with the Saco City Code, Chapter 93, Entertainment, Section 93-2. I move to open the public hearing.
So I have a second on this motion.
Second.
So I have a second by Councilor Smart. So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, a second by Councilor Smart for a public hearing and a special entertainment permit for Townhouse Pub. Councilor, any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? The public hearing is now open. Will those who wish to step forward and be heard on a special entertainment permit for the Townhouse Pub? Oh, excuse me. We have to vote to get into the public hearing. So, Councilor Archer. Councilor Gay.
Yes.
Councilor Doyle.
Yes.
Councilor Copeland.
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn.
Yes.
And Councilor Smart.
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
So the motion is 7-0. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to come forward to speak on the special entertainment permit for the Townhouse Pub? Seeing none. Do you have a motion, Councilor Johnston?
I move to close the public hearing. Be it ordered that the City Council grant the renewal application submitted by Townhouse Management, Inc., doing business as Townhouse Pub for a special entertainment permit to be concurrent with the establishment's current liquor license. I move to approve the order.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston and seconded by Councilor Smart to close the public hearing. Any comments to my right? Any to my left? So, in order to close the public hearing, Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
The motion to close the public hearing passes 7-0. Next up is the public hearing and final reading, which I believe are two motions, for a charter amendment number 3 to change the charter associated with the school budget. Councilor Johnston.
City Council endeavors to make an amendment to Section 6.06 of the Charter. The section pertains to City Council action on the municipal budget. The amendment will allow the council to vote on the global school budget instead of on each cost center. Staff recommends approval. I move to open the public hearing for the document titled Saco City Charter Amendment Number 1, School Budget, dated July 15th, 2019.
Do I have a second on that motion? Do I have a second on the motion?
Second for the purposes of discussion.
Okay. So the motion was made by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Doyle, in order to have open a public hearing to discuss the school charter amendment. Are there any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? So those in favor of opening the public hearing, or either for or against opening the public hearing, Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
The vote is 7-0. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to come forward and speak to the Charter Amendment Number 3, a change in how the school budget is handled? Seeing none, Councilor Johnston, do you have a motion?
Saco City Council hereby ordains and approves the second and final reading.
No, it's to close the public.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Smart, to close the public hearing. Are there any comments to my left? Any to my right? Seeing none, Councilor Johnston,
Yes.
Councilor Smart,
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn,
Yes.
Councilor Copeland,
Yes.
Councilor Doyle,
Yes.
Councilor Gay,
Yes.
and Councilor Archer.
Yes.
Motion to close the public hearing passes 7-0. Do you have another motion, Councilor Johnston?
The Saco City Council hereby ordains and approves the second and final reading of the Saco City Charter Amendment Number 3, School Budget, dated July 15th, 2019, and authorize City Clerk to include Charter Amendment Number 3 on the November 2019 ballot.
Do I have a second on accepting the charter change to be forwarded to the voters in the November ballot? Do I have a second at all on the charter change? Seeing none, this item is moot. Dies for lack of a second. The next item is Councilor Johnston. Item D.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep.
Just thinking through the process of the last motion, I'm wondering why we wasted our time to begin with. It wasn't going to move forward out of workshop, but the Public Works facility is still projected to come in under budget. However, funds must be committed in FY 2020 prior to the sale of the existing Public Works facility, which is not projected to concur until FY 2021 at the earliest. Total expenses through the end of FY 2020 are expected to be $8,289,912. Total revenue from the bond issuance was $7,604,458. $7,250,000 as approved by the voters, plus $354,458 in bond premium. Therefore, total cash required through the end of fiscal year 2020 exceeds the revenue from the bond issuance by $684,454. Of that total, $325,000 in funding has already been made available by reappropriating the funding for the wash bay. That leaves $360,454 needed to cover our bills through fiscal year 2020. We are recommending that $360,454 be appropriated from the general fund unassigned balance to cover these bills, with the understanding that the general fund will be paid back in proceeds from the sale of the existing public works facility in fiscal year 2020. The unassigned fund balance is currently projected to be at $6,669,634 at the end of fiscal year 2019, which leaves the city with $907,578 surplus above the 10% maximum required per the city code. The fiscal year 2020 budget already contains a use of surplus of $257,402. This amendment brings the total use of surplus to $617,856, which still leaves a projected surplus of $289,722 to be appropriated for other items pending the fiscal year 2019 audit. Be it ordered that the City Council approves the second and final reading of Budget Amendment Number 1, fiscal year 2020, and move to approve the order.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Doyle. The second reading of a budget amendment on the Public Works facility. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Seeing none, Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Archer?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Next up, Councilor Archer.
Yes. This amendment will increase non-union salaries by 1.1% above the 1.9% COLA cost of living adjustment increase included in the approved budget for fiscal year 2020. This amendment matches our non-union salary increase to the all-in 3% increase union employees and library employees will receive in fiscal year 2020. It will help offset a projected 10% increase to employee health insurance premiums for 2020. Be it ordered, the City Council approves the second and final reading of the Budget Amendment Number 2, fiscal year 2020, and move to approve the order.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Archer, seconded by Councilor Johnston. And that is a Budget Amendment Number 2. So, any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Seeing none. Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
And Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Bintorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Next up, Councilor Johnston.
Purpose of the digital sign use policy is to establish specific guidelines to regulate messaging on city-owned digital signs. Previously, there was no policy regulating the content communicated on the city-owned signs. Therefore, there has been inconsistency among departments regarding which messages have been advertised. A policy must be adopted to avoid future discrepancies. The attached policy has been amended based on the discussion at the July 15th council meeting. I move to take from the table adoption of digital sign use policy.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Doyle, to adopt a digital sign use policy. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left?
First reading.
Seeing none, Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
We're removing it from the table, not approving it, right?
I'm sorry, this is to remove it from the table, that's true.
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. It is now off the table. Councilor Johnston, would you read the motion to be adopted?
I move to approve the adoption of a digital sign use policy as amended and further move to schedule a public hearing and final reading on August 26th. Actually,
All right, it's just a policy, it's a one-vote
Yep.
position, so there's
So
no
this
need
is
for a
just a
second.
first and final, this will be a final reading,
Correct,
because it is a policy change.
correct.
So I have had the motion introduced to the floor by Councilor Johnston. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilor Doyle. So, any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Seeing none. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
yes.
The motion passes 7-0. Next motion is Councilor Johnston.
To promote healthy standards of living for adults and protect children from the harmful effects of secondhand smoke, the City of Saco is looking to ban tobacco products in the previously specified area, public areas. All tobacco products, including smoked tobacco, smokeless tobacco, vapes, and e-cigarettes are to be banned. The ordinance has been written and would fall under Section 199-1 to 199-5 of the City Code. Staff recommends approval. The City of Saco hereby approves the first reading of a tobacco-free ordinance and further move to schedule a public hearing for August 26, 2019.
Second.
So I have a motion made by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Copeland. Is there any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Councilor Minto first, Councilor Johnston second.
I would hope that we would entertain on the signage front when this passes and it goes into effect, that we have some kind of posted sign that says something, "Our children downwind," so that if there's a bunch of people sitting on the bench smoking and it's all blowing right where we don't want it to go, which is on the kids, that they'll think about moving to another seat, however inconvenient that might be, so at least the children are out of the wind of the secondhand smoke. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Johnston.
Could we include the beaches at Bayview, since we have lifeguards there and they fall under Parks and Rec?
So, Mr. Sutherland, beaches at Bayview, is that excluded from the ordinance?
No. It's all it doesn't state beaches or specifically Bayview. It's all recreational areas. So I would just ask if we could add that.
What about if we could designate the lifeguarded area?
Well, the city owns a certain
Yeah,
set of
the
property.
city property,
Right.
that-
I mean,
which
obviously
is
you can't enforce
where
it.
one of the lifeguard stands are. The lifeguard stand at Bayview is actually on city property. The one at Kenny Shores
Kenny
is not.
It
Shores.
says including passive activities. I would argue that this would allow us to be able to sign that.
Okay. The other thing,
So do you want to actually see an amendment in the final
I
reading?
would actually
that-
like to see
that sees it in writing?
yeah,
Okay.
just to clarify.
Can that be done, Mr. Sutherland?
Yes, it can.
What about Kenny Shores?
We don't own
We don't
anything
have,
at
yeah,
Kenny
we don't
Shores
have,
But we have a lifeguard out there.
for safety purposes.
yeah.
On whose property?
Most of Kenny Shores is
Yeah,
private
that's right, on
property.
somebody else's property, not on city property. So, anything else, Councilor Johnston?
Yes, but I guess we can take it up at another time. I just would like to re-adopt the 2005 smoke-free resolution that council had passed and amend it a little. Since this ordinance, the intent is to be enforceable on recreational areas, that was kind of self-enforced. Basically, it was a resolution that labeled Saco as smoke-free, and I would like to bring that back and hopefully add public buildings, like outside of City Hall. And it's obviously not necessarily enforceable, but we could sign it and, encourage people not to smoke in those areas. So we can take it up on Wednesday or
Sure.
the next workshop.
Yep.
That's it.
Any other comments to my left? Any comments to my right? Councilor Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Why don't we just add that piece into the current tobacco-free zone ordinance that we're talking about, just adding it in as all public buildings and public areas, as well as the beaches and
Yeah,
parks. Why don't we just all incorporate it into one and pass it as that, rather than bring up another resolution after this? Just my
So,
thoughts.
no, that was my original
We have that covered in terms of, no smoking in public buildings. That certainly is the ordinance now. What about smoking,
some public.
yeah, what about smoking outside of a public building?
Has to be, what, 50 feet at least?
There's a distance that's
Yeah.
There's a
statewide.
distance.
There's a distance from all public buildings. So
Maybe we could just sign
So,
it.
Just a second.
make amendments for the second and final.
Okay.
well, can I just
Yes.
clarify? Again, that was my initial intent when I had brought this up to the administrator back in June or July. But our George, the intern, had come forward last workshop and basically presented this ordinance, being that this would be enforceable, and doing city hall or police station area, there's not Parks and Rec staff to enforce it. So my thinking was, if we re-adopt the smoke-free Saco, at least we could sign the buildings and, at least in spirit, say that we're smoke-free, and hopefully people would abide by the signage.
Certainly, we can have that same resolution that was passed in 2003 read in this, on
Yeah,
the meeting of August 26th.
I was hoping that the same night we pass this, we also do the
We also do
resolution
a
at the same
resolution.
time.
Okay, certainly. So that will be added to the agenda at the same day that the final reading is done.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir?
I'm more talking about like what the York County government did, is no smoking on public-owned grounds
On their-
entirely.
That's right.
Right? It's not just in the building
Yeah.
or within 50 feet of a door, it's with all grounds.
That's right. And the sidewalk is not part of the grounds for City Hall, even though it's adjacent to City Hall, but there is a state law that identifies 50 feet from City Hall as even though it's just general public area. Is that true, Mr. Sutherland?
I don't have to look.
Okay,
I'll,
great. Please.
Bring some things forward for the second and final.
Absolutely. Any other comments to my left? Any additional comments to my right? Seeing none. So on the first reading for implementing a tobacco-free zone ordinance, Councilor Archer.
Aye.
Councilor Gay.
Yes.
Councilor Doyle.
Yes.
Councilor Copeland.
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn.
Yes.
Councilor Smart.
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
And that motion passes 7-0. Next up is Councilor Johnston. First reading Charter Amendment Number 4.
City endeavors to make a few amendments to the charter as described in MRSA Title 30A, Chapter 111, Section 2104. The process for making amendments to the charter requires a public hearing before a vote by council. Additionally, if approved by the council, the item would be voted in referendum by the public in November. This particular change is meant to clarify that wardens and ward clerks will be elected to serve 2-year terms. Be it ordered that the City Council approve the first reading of the charter amendments included in the document titled Saco City Charter Amendment Number 4, 7.02 candidates, dated August 5th, August 12th, it should read, 2019, and further move to schedule a public hearing for the August 26, 2019, before a vote to add to the November referendum.
Second.
So I have a second by Councilor Minthorn. So I have a motion by Councilor Johnston, seconded by Councilor Minthorn on Charter Amendment Number 4 to change the terms of the ward wardens and ward clerks. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Councilor Minthorn.
Mr. Mayor, it's not changing their terms, it's setting their terms to 2 years. And all it's doing is taking out the reference to the city council's terms, which, as we know, are all over the place for the next 4 years, and then they'll settle in at 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments to my left? Comments to my right? Seeing none. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Gay?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Councilor Doyle, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Elliot Chamberlain, an applicant, had requested a contract zone amendment to add the uses of offices of contractors and tradesmen and contractors to the Park North contract zone. Contract zone agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and Preston Properties LLC and the City of Saco dated December 20th, 2005, amended through October 17th, 2016. At their meeting on March 19th, 2019, the Planning Board reviewed the contract zone amendment request and forwarded a positive recommendation to the City Council for the following. Add offices of contractors and tradesmen as permitted use to Parcel 2 of the Park North contract zone. Add contractors as a conditional use to Parcel 2 of the Park North contract zone. Planning Board has forwarded a positive recommendation to the City Council. Be it ordered that the City Council approve the amendment to the contract zone agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and Preston Properties LLC as applicants, and the City of Saco to add the use of offices of contractors and tradesmen as a permitted use in Parcel 2, and add the use of contractors as a conditional use in Parcel 2. A move to approve the order.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Doyle, seconded by Councilor Minthorn, on amending the Park North contract zone. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Councilor Johnston.
Well, first, I'd like to point out that in the contract zone documentation, number 35, under Parcel 2, permitted uses, is supposed to be conditional, and it's here under a permitted use. So that needs to be moved to conditional use and given number 4. Is that noted?
Okay, so noted.
And, well, I mean, I've spoken at length several times on this particular contract zone. In this case, I don't particularly believe that adding these uses is the highest or best use of the land, particularly in relation to the approved uses or the existing uses that are already there. I mean, I think this is the opportunity to correct several of the agreements or conditions of the contract zone that have not been followed. So with that, I have a motion to amend the main motion. It would read, be it ordered that the City Council approve the amendment to the contract zone agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and Preston Properties LLC as applicants in the City of Saco to add the use of offices of contractors and tradesmen as a permitted use in Parcel 2, and add the use of contractors as a conditional use in Parcel 2 upon completion of the following. 1, a new traffic movement permit issued by Maine DOT. 2, all trail systems in consultation with the city are completed to satisfaction of the city. 3, all land that is to be conveyed to the City of Saco is completed. 4, the sidewalk that is stated in 2011 conditions of approval to be constructed along Cascade Road is completed.
So there's essentially 4 additional provisions. Is that true, Councilor?
They're not really, they're already in the contract zone.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
just-
already there.
I'm
You're
just making
highlighting.
that this approval
Yeah,
only
is contingent upon.
is contingent upon these items being
4 items.
completed.
Okay. So do I have a second to Councilor Johnston's amendment? So Councilor Gay, second. So the amendment by Councilor Johnston is seconded by Councilor Gay. Discussion is now on the amendment. Any comments to my right? Councilor Doyle.
Mr. Mayor, since we're amending it, I think we should table the item until the contractor has the ability to come before us and speak, especially where we're adding an amendment to the current contract zone.
Thank you. In the past, we haven't restarted the process. Any comments to my left? Councilor Johnston.
The applicant, I'm sure, was noticed, and he could have been here, and he's not. So, I mean, this has been going on for, what, at least since last January when this started. I mean, I'm opposed to tabling, but.
Okay. I didn't hear a tabling motion. Councilor Smart.
So I don't necessarily disagree. I think, you know, as you've talked at length, you know, there are quite a few unresolved issues here. My only concern is, at least during the last time we discussed this, there were quite a few people who came to speak in favor of this that said they were looking for space to move in. I'm concerned that if the stipulations that are added end up taking too long or never happen, then we would be stopping people from being able to find reasonable places to move in to set up shop, and basically taking another property, you know, off of the tax roll as a productive use. That being said, I guess I'm curious if you have any idea, or if anybody has any idea, if somebody actually endeavored to complete those stipulations, how long would a reasonable time be to expect them to happen?
Well, I would say if you read that contract zone, 3 years ago, we gave him an ample amount of time and it hasn't be completed. So alternatively, you guys can approve this and I will go down to the code enforcement officer's office and ask him to actually enforce what is on or in the contract. It's clearly stated there that this is within code enforcement's purview to start enforcing penalties, which can amount to $2,500 a day. So, I mean, how many opportunities are you going to give one individual? It's where I'm at with this. I've been dealing with this for 6 years that I've been on this council, that things have just repeatedly been, agreed to. We voted on it, he agreed to it. He came before us, he agreed to those provisions and has just blown us off. So, I mean, if that's how we want to operate in the city, I guess that's the rest, or at least the other 6 members here to decide. But I'm done with it. I mean, it's time to hold somebody accountable. We wouldn't allow a regular resident to get away with the things that we've allowed this particular contractor to, so.
Thank you, Councilor Copeland.
I'm particularly concerned about the opportunity zone out there that expires by the end of the year. So we do need to get somebody in there. I totally share your frustration with the punch list never, ever being finished. We also had a discussion when he was here, the contractor was here, about that one field over, where is it, Bill, in Ross Ridge, where the Parks Department spoke with him, and they were going to work out something with our aerator equipment to get that lawn out there up to standards where we could take it. So it's complicated. But I am concerned about the running out of time with the opportunity zone.
Councilor Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to let some of the other councilors know something that I received from Director of Parks and Rec, Ryan Summer. He said that Elliot was due to be here tonight, but he wanted to let us know that up to this point, Elliot has mowed the field, fertilized the field, and will be putting down another shot of calcium to help with the turf in Ross Ridge. He also noted in his email to me, he is also committed to connecting Waterfall Drive to the Cascade Fall Trail system. Some of it would have to be on the road once it was done. So he is making progress in the new parks, and the Parks and Rec Director, Ryan Summer, has confidence in his ability to work with the developer to get this stuff done. So in light of the applicant not here, which he was here at one of our last meetings to discuss these issues, in light of the fact that we're changing the game here, essentially, and making the contract zone agreement dependent on some things, we should at least give the contractor the ability to speak on this. So again, I move to table.
Again, no one's changed the game.
So I have a...
They're right there in the contract zone.
Well, I have a motion to table the amendment, and I'm afraid we have, that would be associated with the main motion. We need to dispatch the amendment, then have the tabling motion on the main motion. Okay. So the motion on the floor is to amend the contract zone to highlight those items that are in the contract zone but aren't, don't have a specific requirement for completion to be done. Ms. Prescott, do you want to speak to this, or do you, Mr. Sullivan?
I was going to ask that we allow Emily to explain
Please,
some of
Ms.
where those
Prescott, if you
steps-
could
those 4
talk to
items
us
are,
about
process,
this
timeline.
Park North contract zone amendment, amendment to the Park North contract zone amendment.
Well, I really wanted to let the council know that Elliot Chamberlain is on his way. He was well aware that it was today, and he was going to be here about 7:15, which you got through your agenda items very quickly. We thought that would probably be a good time. From now on, I'll just tell him to come at 6:30 when people ask.
Yeah.
So I did email him. He said he's on his way in about 5 minutes, so I don't know if there's an idea to maybe table later in the meeting, or... But as far as, are there specific questions I can help answer on the contract zone?
timeline to accomplish those items, the 4 items that were mentioned?
The 4 items that were mentioned, I won't speak to the sidewalk. I'll let Elliot do that when he comes. As far as the other items, the
Traffic movement study, a new traffic
traffic
movement study?
movement permit is underway. He did file the new traffic movement permit, and it's in review with DOT. We've had a scoping meeting with DOT on that. The trail system is under development. Ryan Sommer has been out and walked the trail. I've been out, actually walked part of the trail when it was early on.
Okay.
And that trail plan was submitted to council in December, I believe. What was the last one?
Land use, the land swaps or the land.
Land
Oh,
swaps?
those deeds are in my inbox, and it's just a matter of finalizing the documentation. I've already spoken with Kevin about the city's accepting those, and that's just a matter of closing the loop on the city's end, but they have been presented.
Okay. Councilor Archer?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that all these items being requested in this amendment are already in the contract zone, but it's just a secondary enforcement to protect the city. We're actually not asking for anything in addition. We're just trying to protect the city for the future for someone who doesn't have a perfect record. So, I mean, where are people's concerns coming from when it's only a protection measure to defend the city?
In addition, it sounds as though they're underway, so once complete, he would get these new uses. I mean, part of the problem I've had for years now is we've continued to amend, whether it's the Cascade or the Park North contract zone, put provisions in it, and none of them are really enforceable. This is the opportunity where you at least give it, you attach something to completion. I mean, I don't think you're asking too much, but I see that Mr. Chamberlain's here and he can come speak to it.
So perhaps we could have Mr. Chamberlain step forward to speak to the 4 points?
Thank you.
Maybe have Nathan reread what he's proposing.
Yeah, so Nathan, could you reread your amendment?
I've amended the main motion so that it now reads, be it ordered that the City Council approve the amendment to the contract zone agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and Preston Properties LLC as applicants in the City of Saco to add the use of office and contractors and tradesmen as permitted use in Parcel 2 and add the use of contractors as a conditional use in Parcel 2. Upon completion of the following: 1, a new traffic movement permit issued by Maine DOT. 2, all trails in consultation with the city are completed to the satisfaction of the city. 3, all land that is to be conveyed to the city is completed. And 4, the sidewalk that is stated in the 2011 conditions of approval to be constructed along Cascade Road is completed.
The only question I would have, overall, I don't really have a big issue with any of that. The 2 questions I do have, or maybe problems I do have, is when I spoke with Emily and Joe about the sidewalk, there seemed to be some confusion about, is it a sidewalk on Cascade Road or is it a sidewalk on Route 1? So I guess I would love to be able to clarify that as to what piece of sidewalk we're talking. And if it is one on Cascade Road, that was also a sidewalk that was a condition on Monkey Trunks when they got approved. And somehow along the line, if that's the piece we're talking, it got put on to me, which I'm confused about, since it was a condition of their plan and they never finished their plan, but yet they were allowed to open. 2, when you say all trails, the trails were always meant to be a multi-year thing. The trail that is about 70% done right now, I have absolutely no problem with. The traffic movement permit, I have absolutely no problem with. We're not that far away from getting that permit. Was there one other?
The land that's to be conveyed to the city.
Yeah, we actually my attorney gave the city draft deeds 4 to 6 months ago. We're still waiting on somebody to tell us whether they're okay or not okay. I'll give the land tonight if somebody said the deeds are okay. I have no problem with that. That was 2 very minor pieces of land on the back part of the project that had just got listed as to be conveyed to the city, and they just never were. So this year, Emily brought that up to me, and I said, fine, we'll get the deeds over to you, and I just need somebody to say the deeds are correct, they're acceptable, and I'll sign them.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any questions
Oh.
from the council on my left? Oh, excuse me, are you done, Counselor?
I can clarify the way I understood
Okay.
the sidewalk, which is the sidewalk on Cascade Route along the Monkey Trunks connecting to Waterfall Drive. That's the way I have interpreted it for years. I don't know.
Going from Waterfall to,
Going along the Cascade Road side of the property.
Yeah.
So it's essentially today a sidewalk that would end at the end of that property headed towards OOB,
okay, yep.
and then up to the corner of Waterfall.
And to move it forward, I'll certainly work, we've actually brought Monkey Trunks it to their attention that it was, hey, it was part of your approval. I think they're willing to work with us, so between us and them together, then yes, we'll get it done.
Okay.
So do you see that there is need for this amendment?
I'd still like it.
Still would like to see that.
Obviously,
Any
he's
other-
working on it, and it sounds like the city's involved, but,
Yes.
I mean, like I said, it's conditioned upon those 4 things that are in the work, so.
Yeah, so with that being said, the sidewalk being clarified, and I would probably agree with you right here that that's probably a correct assumption, that piece of sidewalk. And the TMP permit is not an issue, and the transferring the land is not an issue. So I guess it would come down to you just saying all trails.
Well, I would clarify, I believe the last amendment I made back in 16, I believe it was, it states Phase 1 of the trail system.
Which Phase
So I
1
would
is
say
about
Phase
70% done, and we have finally been able to secure a contractor to come in September and finish it for us, so.
Okay. So I would clarify that that would be Phase 1 of the trail system.
In the amendment, so your recommendation for an amendment is that that be identified as Phase 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that is what was conditioned that he complete.
And there is a trail plan that we have given to the city that showed Phase 1, Phase 2.
Okay. Any other comments to my left? Councillor Archer?
So it's my understanding with the 4 amendments that we just addressed, you're okay with it, these amendments?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments to my right? Seeing none? So we have an amendment that, we have an amendment to the amendment, right. So we have an amendment by Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Gay, to amend 4 points in the amendment that is on the floor. So Councillor Johnston.
Yes.
And Councillor Archer.
Yes.
And Councillor Smart.
Yes.
And Councillor Gay.
Yes.
And Councillor Minthorn.
Yes.
And Councillor Doyle.
Yes.
And Councillor Copeland.
Yes.
So the amendment to the amendment passes 7-0. The main motion on the floor. Do you wish to make a tabling motion, Councillor Doyle?
No.
So the main motion is now on the floor as amended. Does anyone to my right wish to address the main motion? Anyone on my left wish to address the main motion? Seeing none. Councillor Copeland.
Yes.
Councillor Minthorn.
Yes.
And Councillor Smart.
Yes.
And Councillor Johnston.
Yes.
And Councillor Doyle.
Yes.
And Councillor Gay.
Yes.
And Councillor Archer.
Yes.
And the main motion passes 7-0. Next up, Councillor Doyle, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council had asked at the November 13th, 2018 workshop that the 8 amendments to the Park North Cascade overall subdivision previously approved by the Planning Board be brought to the City Council for review. The following is a description of the Planning Board's approved amendments to the Park North Cascade overall subdivision, which altered the original subdivision plan incorporated by reference into the Park North and Cascade contract zones. First Amendment, Cascade Contract Zone, division of Lot C1 resulting in the creation of Lot C5 at the corner of Cascade Road and Route 1, approved 1/22/2008. Second Amendment, Cascade Contract Zone, further division of Lot C1 resulting in the creation of Lot C6, approved 1/20/2019. Applicant Wagner Drywall received site plan approval for the commercial building that now houses a daycare and other uses. Third, Cascade Contract Zone, creation of lots C4A, C4B, and 22. The latter was carved out of the existing Lot 18 at the corner of Portland Road and Main Road, now Waterfall Drive, and is now occupied by the former Ocean Communities Credit Union building. Lots C4A and C4B were created from the existing parcel that lies between Cascade Road and Old Cascade Road. It is described in the parcel deed for the Cascade Inn as a separate parcel from the larger former inn property. Zones C4A and C4B have since been developed with single-family dwellings. Fourth Amendment, Cascade Contract Zone. Easements associated with a force main and the pump station for lots C1, C5, and C6 were created. Fifth Amendment, Park North Contract Zone, updating dimensional regulations in parcels 2, 3, and 4 of the Contract Zone Agreement. The space and bulk regulations in parcel 4 necessitated a change to the subdivision plan for parcel 4. Sixth Amendment, Park North Contract Zone, modified the residential area of Lot 18. Seventh Amendment, Park North Contract Zone. The first part proposes to alter phases 3 and 5 within the residential portion of the development, which will consist of consolidating the proposed right-of-way, Bears Den Road, not currently built. The previously proposed open space, lots C4 and CA5, to accommodate 17 duplexes. The second part proposes to subdivide Lot 18 at the corner of Waterfall Drive and Portland Road to create an approximate 6-acre parcel for future development of a 72-unit apartment building. Eighth Amendment, Park North Contract Zone. This amendment consolidates lots 6 through 15 located in the northeastern portion of the parcel, the previously proposed right-of-way from Minor Park Road, the previously proposed right-of-way for approximately 1,100 feet of Don Marie Drive, and the parcel formerly containing Stormwater Detention Area 2. The purpose of this change is to accommodate the outsale of approximately 27.52 acres to Maine State Department of Defense. As a result of this outsale, it is necessary to reconfigure the roadway alignments and intersection of Don Marie Drive and Eastview Parkway. Additionally, former Lot 5 and the parcel containing Stormwater Detention Area 1 are proposed to be adjusted. In conjunction with these changes, the applicant is proposing to subdivide lots 2 through 4 to create 6 lots. Staff recommends approval of the above subdivision amendments based on the actions of the Planning Board from 2008 to present. Be it ordered that the City Council approve subdivision amendments dated from 2008 to 2018, previously approved by the Planning Board, to the Contract Zone Agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and the City of Saco, and the Contract Zone Agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and Preston Properties LLC as applicants in the City of Saco. Move to approve the order.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Doyle, seconded by Councilor Minkthorn, dealing with the Park North and Cascade Contract Zone subdivisions. So, any comments to my right? Any to my left? Councilor Johnston.
Again, I mean, I expressed earlier my concern with, retroactively approving these, and not very pleased with that, but I just, again, have to express my displeasure with 27 acres now twice being sold off to a non-tax-paying entity, which runs counter to the intent of the TIF, which was to generate tax dollars. And approving this, you're allowing, the property's sold, but there's no use in this contract zone for the National Guard, so we'll be dealing with that in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilor Johnston. Any other comments to my left? Any comments to my right? Seeing none, Councilor Archer.
Aye.
Councilor Gay.
No.
Councilor Doyle.
Yes.
Councilor Copeland.
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn.
Yes.
Councilor Smart.
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
No.
The motion passes 5-2. And that is the final reading on that. Councilor Doyle, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recently, the Planning Board conditionally approved the re-subdivision of 4 Cascade Road to create 1 additional lot. The applicant, Amari Holdings, has also submitted a site plan application for construction of a 6,000 square foot structure for 3,000 square foot of business use and 3,000 square foot of medical office space. The applicant is pending further review by the Planning Board of the site plan application until the council has issued its decision on this subdivision amendment, which is considered the 9th amendment to the overall Park North and Cascade subdivision plan. The exhibits include items that reference all subdivision amendments and are included for the council's reference. Staff recommends approval of this amendment to the Cascade Contract Zone as conditionally approved under subdivision review by the Planning Board. Be it ordered that the City Council approve the subdivision amendment conditionally approved by the Planning Board on April 30th, 2019 to the contract zone agreement by and between Park North Development LLC and the City of Saco. Move to approve the order.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Doyle, seconded by Councilor Councilor Johnston. Seconded by Councilor Johnston. Any comments to my right? Councilor Archer.
I just want to be clear to the applicant, and I'm sure he's well aware that any future contract zones are being, they have been scrutinized, and just so I make it aware that there's been a lot coming forward, and some of it need to be done, a little bit of this cleanup, but just to let you know that we are looking at them closely once we move forward.
Thank you very much.
I am for it, but
Any other comments to my right? Seeing none. Comments to my left? Councilor Johnston.
So I'm happy in this case to see this move forward in the proper way, and I think it's when complete, will be an exciting addition to the overall Cascade Contract Zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chamberlain. So, Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
And Councilor Gay?
Yes.
And Councilor Doyle?
Yes.
And Councilor Archer?
Yes.
This motion passes 7-0. So, we are through the agenda, and I don't believe what the time is. So, getting on to the next item, Mr. Sutherland, do you have an administrative update?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Am I on? No, I am.
You're on.
Good, thank you. The little light on my microphone has died, so I have no idea when it's on or not.
Remember to speak to the city administrator about that.
I will. I'll talk to the city administrator. We have two items that are bid solicitations, and again, remember our purchasing policy was changed to allow for us to save some money by doing it this way on occasion when it works out timing-wise. So the City of Saco is soliciting bids for interior coating to be done at the Millbrook, Goose Fair, and Bear Brook pump stations to include epoxy composite floor system and repainting of block walls and ceilings for the Water Resource Recovery Department. Bids must be submitted on the bid response form in a sealed envelope marked pump stations interior coating. And the city is also soliciting bids for the lining of the sludge blend tank. Bids must be submitted on the bid response form in a sealed envelope marked lining of sludge blend tank. Both sets of bids will be accepted until 1 p.m. on Tuesday, August 27th at the Finance Office at Saco City Hall, located at 300 Main Street, Saco, Maine, 04072. There will be a public opening of all bids received at that time. Any questions regarding either of these bid specifications should be directed to Howard Carter, Director of Water Resource Recovery Department, by emailing hcarter@sacomaine.org or by calling 207-282-3564. Both of these bids can be found on the city's website. The other item I wanted to make a comment on was the Saco Island East tree replanting. So code enforcement has now taken action to secure the escrow for tree replanting should a project not be approved by the end of this month. Which is highly unlikely at this point. So this spring, staff agreed that parties were to seed the area to add additional erosion control. No point in planting trees if the project had not been approved between that time frame. And since there is no project, the additional monies will be used to plant trees after the summer season is over. Fall is a time to do so, otherwise there's a good chance the trees will not hold, especially during hot and dry spells. So no further council action is required. Staff have their directive, but if council has any questions or concerns, please reach out to me.
Thank you very much. Councilor Copeland.
Thank you for that update. Is there a process to go through the Saco River Corridor Commission for this?
For the planting of trees?
Yes.
Emily, would there be a process that we'd have to use the Saco River Corridor Commission for replanting of trees? I know that we're putting a bid through the process to have somebody else do this, so we'll probably reach out to Dalen to find out.
And what type of trees are going in?
In the fall.
What type?
That's
Oh,
not
trees.
that's not my area of expertise.
We need Mr. Summer to be here, and he was and has left. Ms. Prescott, do you have any comments to make on the replanting of trees on the eastern part of Saco Island?
I'll be happy to work on it and contact the executive director for Saco River Corridor with Kevin if it's needed. I'm used to getting the reverse question, how do we remove the trees, so.
Okay.
Right. But they still have to dig up on the perimeter, so that's what I was concerned about.
Definitely.
And I would like to know what type of trees are going in.
So Mr. Summer will be able to send us an updated email, Mr. Sutherland?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can expect an email from Mr. Summer, who has control of this and hadn't apparently anticipated that he would be asked because he left early.
Again, this is a code enforcement issue in which we would do an RFP to have a company come in and do this work for us. So it's not going to be an in-house staff planting of trees.
Right, but I just don't want them to come in and put like azaleas or something. They need to be trees.
Yes.
I just want to have an understanding of what type of trees.
So
Probably won't have an answer until after the bid is
who
done.
was the point of contact? Would it be code
Code
or would it be
enforcement.
parks?
Code
Oh,
enforcement.
so we would be getting an email from Mr. Lambert that would tell us what sort of trees and whether the permitting.
In the
has been-
shoreland, there are different trees that hold the soil better than others.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments associated with the administrative update before
No.
we go into council discussion and comment? Councilor Johnston.
I was just going to say that Dick may actually already have a tree planting plan on as
I'd love
part.
to see it. That'd be great.
Sure. So perhaps that's what we'll get in our email. Any other comments on the administrative update before we go into council comment and discussion? Seeing none, council comment and discussion, Councilor Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin, I got an email from a constituent that I'd like to bring forward. It may be a code issue, but this email was received, and I've spoken briefly with Councilor Gay because it's in an abutting ward, but the email was said, I am hoping, or excuse me, correct me if I'm wrong, the city of Saco owns the tannery on the Flag Pond Road, correct? Why are we just being notified that the Department of Environment of a serious water contamination? Someone is coming out on the 20th for a water sample. What are we to do in the meantime? This stuff causes all kinds of medical issues. I can't believe for the life of me why the city hasn't contacted us as well. Also, my husband brought the blasting issues to the planning board's attention and basically was laughed out of the meeting. This is not a laughing matter at all. Why are we not being informed of the city, for one? So this is something that I don't know if it's related to the blasting of the subdivision at the corner of Flag Pond Road and Jenkins Road. I think it's something Inns Landing or something along those lines. But this is something that needs to be looked into if there's a water contamination issue up there.
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Any other comments to my right? Councilor Archer.
Yes, we could just quickly talk about agenda item C today.
Okay.
This motion was guided through the second. However, council never actually got to decide the question, so we've actually never had a chance. We can bring it back. The reason why you didn't get a second from me was a couple weeks ago I mentioned the option of adding that and/or. This was specifically only for the dollar figure, and I was against that. That's why you didn't get a second. For myself personally, again, since we did not, the council body did not decide the question, it can come back, I believe, in the next meeting.
Mr. Sutherland, is that true? It didn't get tabled, it died.
Right, died for
I think
lack
it
of
has
seconds.
to, I think it would have to go through
The same
workshop.
process.
So it would have to go through workshop, then we would go to a first reading, et cetera. And the entire thing would need to be done by the second week of September in order to get it onto the ballot.
I don't think it'll be on the ballot this year.
So, okay.
Could be brought back this year.
Yes.
Because it was never actually decided.
That's true. Okay.
Well,
Councilor Johnston, you have something.
you could motion to reconsider and then amend the main
That's
motion to
true.
add what you had just stated tonight.
A motion to reconsider
I don't know the
guess
rules
that's-
of order on that.
Yeah, I've got to actually research whether you can have a motion to reconsider of a motion that failed for a second, as opposed to failed at the vote.
Right.
Because there was no prevailing side. And so let me check with a real master parliamentarian and find out if we can actually have a motion to reconsider. If we can, you'll receive an email on that. Any other comments to my left? Oh, Councilor.
Allow me to reconsider, I'll either reconsider or I'll second it, so that there is some weight to why we should spend some time researching this. Is I would make a motion to reconsider if we're allowed to.
There's nothing to reconsider.
Already done. Before we put staff hours looking into it, it has to be known that is it going to go somewhere and not just happen.
Okay, I'm looking at calling a person that is supposed to be a master, hold a master in parliamentary procedure and Robert's rules. So no staff time, but I'll send you an email out, so.
But it would be worth it, does have some readings.
Yeah, so, okay. Any other comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Oh, Councilor Johnson.
A request, and I recognize this probably is staff
And
consuming,
councilors.
but given the large amount of FOIA requests that we seem to have lately, I was curious if the city could make a FOIA section and post those requests and the documentation online, similar to how Biddeford does it. What do we charge, $15 an hour or something?
After the first hour.
After the first hour.
First hour's free.
Can't do the math off top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that the administrator himself is paid much, much more than the $15 an hour. And judging by he's the one that tends to be doing the majority of this research, I think that posting it and having it available for other people that might be looking for the same documentation would probably save us time in the future. And it would also let everybody know what certain people are requesting.
So, Mr. Sutherland, is that a possibility that we can actually add a web page onto our home page or index page?
Why ask about it on the hearing?
I'll look into it. I'll talk to staff about what we can do.
All right, thank you. So that will be looked into to see if it can be done. We've had some staff changes over.
Oh, I understand. I'm not necessarily saying right now, but I just think that, you know, if we have staff we can dedicate just to basically posting what, you know, who requested it, if it's open or if it's closed, and if it's closed, you post the documentation that they requested. And that way, people that are looking for that information will be able to go and find the similar information that the research has already been done on.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any other comments to my left? Councilor Minthorn.
I'd like to thank the Hancock Lumber family for the groundbreaking today. It was a very nice event, and it was nice to meet a lot of their staff that'll be participating. We had a lot of our city staff there, and I just want to thank everybody and welcome them to the city officially since they've broken ground.
Thank you very much. Any other comments to my right? Seeing none, then I would like to have a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
I need to have the entire, motion read, please.
I know that. Be it ordered that the City Council enter into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056E, consultation with counsel regarding a pending matter, and C, discussion regarding possible development.
Do I have a second? So I have a motion by Councilor Minthorn, seconded by Councilor Doyle to enter executive session on two items. Any comments to my right? Any comments to my left? Councilor Johnston? Yes. Councilor Smart?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Doyle? Yes. Councilor Gay? And Councilor Archer. We are now in executive session at having passed 7-0.
There we go. Yep.
Hey, Andrew.
Oh, is that right? They can hear
Okay.
us before we can hear ourselves?
As soon as you turn this on, the station can hear you.
They're powering the amps
Are
up.
we recorded?
We're recording right now.
Yeah.
No, but before we can hear ourselves, we're recording.
Correct.
Yep.
So be careful.
That was what I was thinking.
Thank you. I would like to ask for a motion to exit executive session. Oh, Councilor Gay has made a motion to exit executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Fails for lack of a second. No, I mean, Councilor Smart, Councilor Gay has made the motion, and Councilor Smart has seconded the motion to exit executive session. Any comments to my left? To my right? Seeing none, Councilor Archer, Councilor Gay, Councilor Doyle, Councilor Copeland, Councilor Minthorn.
Yes.
Councilor Smart.
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston. The motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor, there is no report.
Councilor Minthorn, is there a report?
Mr. Mayor, there is no report from the executive session for either item.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
So I have a motion from Councilor Minthorn, seconded by Councilor Smart to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. So Councilor Archer? Councilor Gay? Councilor Doyle? Councilor Copeland?
Yes.
Councilor Minthorn?
Yes.
Councilor Smart?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
The motion to adjourn passes 7-0. All right. Are you all set? 8:35. Holy smokes. That's it. Things are getting better. All right.